Let's talk about the new film from Sam Raimi, which is called Send Help. This stars Rachel McAdams. You also have Dylan O'Brien. And I will tell you, it's a January release. It's pretty close to February, so I don't think we could call it a dumpuary type release, even though I think January has been pretty solid this year. And it's been not bad. I have a recap for January coming out this weekend, so stay tuned. But I was excited to see Sam Raimi return after his previous film, which of course was Multiverse of Madness, which I think is top 5 in the MCU. And I was excited. Rachel McAdams, Dylan O'Brien, I think are really incredible actors that have been choosing some interesting projects as of late, which I love to see. And this was a very 180 type film for them to make together. And it really does feel like a movie that I just never thought would be possible. So we're going to talk about spoilers here. We do have a review coming out. That'll be out this weekend, so stay tuned. Yes, this isn't ending explained, even though the ending's pretty straightforward. I just want to talk spoilers because there's a ton of things I really loved in this movie. So this film basically revolves around Linda and Bradley, who end up getting stuck in a deserted island after a plane crash. Now, Linda is an employee of Bradley. Bradley took over the company after his father, and Linda thought she was getting a promotion, but indeed she was actually demoted, and the promotion she thought she was getting was actually given to Bradley's friend. And that pretty much set off Linda from the beginning because she thought she had put so much time and effort into this company just to be overlooked. Well, after this plane crash and they end up in a deserted island, it seems that Bradley is the one who needs Linda's help now. Oh, how the tables have turned. That's another name for this movie right here, because we see that Linda is pretty much able to survive on her own. She's able to pull her own weight. And also Bradley doesn't do shit. He's just a leecher, just like bosses really are in real life, right? And we see that if you want to survive in all this, you got to pay attention to me. I'm the boss basically now. And we see that Bradley doesn't really like this. He feels some type of way because he's always overlooked Linda. And we see after obstacle and obstacle that Bradley faces, where even eating some bugs that turn his tongue black, he's just like, you know what? I'm going to Linda. She has a plan here, maybe. It turns out Linda doesn't really have a plan, and she hints from time to time to Bradley that she will just stay here. She doesn't really care for life back in the real world where they come from. She's okay with being in this deserted island. And I love the way that Linda's character is so complex. It's not a conventional like heroine type where she is the ultra good and all of that. She has a bit of a prickly side to her, which I thought was great to see because we see that she has these different wants and needs. She's not just doing some righteous act. And I think that's always great to see that these characters can be multifaceted. And Linda sort of has a crush as well on Bradley, even maybe believing that there might be some hope for them to maybe get together at some point. That's the vibes I got a little bit. But anyways, we do see that Linda does eventually get under Bradley's skin because he wants to leave. So he builds a raft in secret and decides to sort of poison her and make her pass out in order for him to escape and get out of this island once and for all. And she's incapacitated for a bit, but then his raft completely gets destroyed by the waves and she has to save him. And she saves him, but she pukes all over him. One of the most disgusting things. It wouldn't be a Sam Raimi film without somebody getting puked on, I feel. But we see that this is when Linda decides to take matters into her own hands and really make Bradley a good boy by almost castrating him. This was one of those scenes when everybody in the theater was just like, oh my God, it's about to happen. People were squirming, screaming. It was intense, but ultimately we see that she had incapacitated him with this like octopus that made him not feel anything and he couldn't move, and she was cutting at it, but it wasn't at the little Bradley, it was actually towards a rat. And she said, don't fuck with me because next time it's going to be the real thing. We see that Bradley does get into compliance after this and things seem to be like as okay as they can get. And Linda's pretty much out exploring and she comes across Zuri, who was Bradley's fiance and a boatman who brought her to find Bradley. And she's like, yes, we rescued you, Linda and Bradley. Let's go back home so you can go back to your life, which of course Linda does not want to do now. And we see that Linda eventually takes Zuri and the boatman to an area where she almost slipped and fell so that they can slip and fall. And we see that this happens. And it cuts to black and we see that Linda returns feeling a bit guilty now. Bradley has no idea what just happened and Linda's pretty much out of it for the next day or so. This is why Bradley decides to go hunting on his own, but on his hunt, he eventually comes across Zuri's hand, which wasn't buried that well. Evil Dead fashion, we see the hand sticking out with the engagement ring. Bradley knows what Linda has done, and he decides to go confront her. As they have a confrontation, Linda reaches for her knife, and we see that, yes, of course, Bradley has taken this knife while she was out, and they chase each other into the deep end of the jungle where they get into a fight where we see Linda's eyes almost get gouged. We see Bradley get stabbed by her, and then eventually they go towards the part of the island that was not meant for them to go, according to Linda. And Bradley realizes that there is a super duper mansion here, amazing, everything you need, water, food, and all that. And he finally realizes the truth. As Linda says, she's been known about this. This is where she's gotten some supplies. She's been enjoying some time when she's away from Bradley. And that's why she's a little bit more hesitant to return that quickly, because she has the means for them to return. She just hasn't decided when those should be met. They eventually have one final confrontation, and we see Linda's able to get the better of him and eventually does kill Bradley right before telling him that she in fact did kill Zuri by hitting the boatman in the back of the head just as he was trying to save Zuri, so they both fell to their death. And she had been lying to Bradley all this time. They could have been saved probably since the first or second day, but she decided, I'll wait. And we see now that she has gone on to become a hero, has gone on to make a book, a movie's even being made, and she's living her best life with her bird. And I thought one of the interesting things too in the film that we heard about was the story about her husband, where she ultimately just led him into his death, right? And this is what she does as well to Zuri. This is what she does as well to Bradley. She leads them into their death, and eventually that's the end of them. And you know, it's an interesting film because you could see that Linda is kind of like an anti-hero of sorts, because yes, she is fighting for the good and everything like that, but she's also going to do whatever it takes in order for that good to prevail. And in this case, Bradley did her dirty. He's been doing people dirty his whole life. Did he deserve it? I don't know, but it's up to the viewer, I guess, to decide. I think that we definitely see that when people have enough, they have enough. And we saw that Linda did have enough, and she decided to go after Bradley. And now she's living the best life. Nobody's ever going to know probably what happened up there. She took out the security cam system and all of that, and it seems that Linda is going to be destined to be great now. And that's pretty much the end of Send Help, which I thought was hilarious. There were so many moments in here I loved. I really loved the moment when we saw Linda eventually does kill Zuri, and then she's playing with the consciousness of what happened. And it was so eerie. It was so scary the way that Zuri's like monster, ghost, zombie fied body came up to shore and tried to get Linda. I thought that was a great Sam Raimi touch there. The fighting as well was very visceral and brutal and gory and very dark as well, but still had that comedic balance that Sam Raimi is known for. And I really love when Sam Raimi goes full on bonkers in this film. I hate when he's a little bit holding the punches back, because you can feel it, especially with another scene that doesn't. So I wonder if there's a world where this just went full on like crazy, bizarre, and just psycho, because I think that there definitely is a version of that considering what happens in this movie. But I'm so happy with the end result, and I cannot wait to see what Sam Raimi does next. I think Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams are incredible here, and this is a movie where if both of them weren't on the same page and ready to just fully go for it, it would fall flat. But it doesn't, because they commit, they deliver, and it is just an incredible, incredible thriller that I'm excited to say I cannot wait to rewatch. But let me know what you thought about the ending. What do you think about Linda? I enjoyed her character a lot. I don't blame her for what she did. She had gotten snubbed so many times. Bradley could give a shit about her, and if the tables were turned and Bradley was able to really like go forth into this island by himself, I don't think he would have looked twice back at Linda. So I think Linda did what she had to do, and at the end of the day, Bradley shouldn't have been a piece of shit. Maybe things would have been different, and I think that that's definitely what set the events in motion of this film. It's just that he had done her so dirty, decided to do her even more dirty, and then when he needed the help, he was expecting her to come running towards him and help him just because he says he's quote-unquote the boss, which of course bullshit. But I really do love Send Help. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this film, if you enjoyed it or not, and as always, hit the subscribe button, notification bell. On the road to 50,000 subscribers. Let's get to it. Stay safe, stay positive.